The MTN News, a local hotel is cleaning up massive amounts of damage done to their business after witnesses say that somebody drove through a wall into a rented room. We'll tell you what happened. Plus, it's early voting in key states. We'll check in on voter enthusiasm, if it could impact results, and if any states are breaking records. And trading lessons in the classroom for lessons on the basketball court. We watch as elementary students from around town take in an MSUB basketball game. The MTN News starts right now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us on the 4:30 News. I'm Andrea Lutz. A rude awakening for two Billings hotel guests. We want you to check out this pickup truck tearing a hole right into a room of the Days Inn in Billings. This is around 1 a.m. on Monday. The people who were in that room are okay, but the Days Inn management says a female driver was part of a group gathering in the parking lot. She went to leave and reversed into the building instead, then rammed into the building a second time even harder before finally driving forward and fleeing. Police found that truck a short time later, but the driver has yet to be located. This is what the damage looks like now. The Days Inn has closed that room along with the room above it for safety after this bizarre event.
You know, she said that she got woken up to the bed moving and being covered in glass. Thankfully, she wasn't hurt at all. She wasn't cut at all. She didn't get hit by the truck at all.
The incident comes just 3 weeks after a driver put a large hole into the front of Juro's Pharmacy on the Billings West End. We're going to hear from Juro's about how that's impacted their business. That story's coming up at 5:30. This week, the last two battleground states will start offering in-person early voting, and tonight we're looking into how early voting is going. What states are breaking records? Our Stephanie Liebergen is learning what early voting tells us about voter enthusiasm and how early we can see results.
With Election Day 2 weeks away, millions of Americans are already casting their ballot every day, and that is going to continue over the next 2 weeks. On Tuesday, Wisconsin, the latest battleground state to start early in-person voting statewide. The final battleground state to start that is Michigan. They start on Saturday this week, offering early in-person voting for the first time in a presidential election. Michigan was one of a number of states to change their election laws after 2020, when people across the country were forced to vote differently, maybe vote early or vote by mail because of the pandemic. But turns out that's a pretty popular option. So it is increasing, and it has increased in popularity since the presidential election 4 years ago. Now, we are still facing a very, very close election, and the Michigan Secretary of State is really reminding not only Michiganders, but Americans across the country that election officials are working hard to do their job accurately and correctly, and Americans and voters need to give them the time and space to do so.
And then we also try to send the message to everyone, just, turn the temperature down a little bit. This is a moment to respect a process and respect our election officials, not disrupt it. And we hope those mitigation factors, as well as our pleas to the public right now to respect each other.
Over half the ballots cast so far have been submitted by mail, and that means they just take a little bit of extra time for elections officials to process. Someone literally has to take the ballot out of an envelope. They need to check a signature or a date, maybe need to pull it out of a secrecy envelope. They need to make sure the ballot was filled out in a way that it can be read by the scanner or tabulator, and all of that just takes more time. And in key states like Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, where none of that processing can be done before Election Day, that means we might be waiting for results past Tuesday night, 2 weeks from today. So it's very possible that Americans are going to need to wait for the results, not only of the White House and who will be in the White House next year, but maybe wait for key results in Senate races, maybe waiting to find out which party is going to have the majority in the House of Representatives. But just know that your elections officials are going to be working diligently to count all of those ballots quickly and accurately. Stephanie Liebergen, Scripps News, Washington.
2 weeks and counting, that's how much time is left before what could be one of the most memorable elections in U.S. history. Voters will decide several important races in Montana on election night. Among them is the race for governor. Polls currently show incumbent Greg Gianforte well in front of his Democratic opponent, Ryan Busse. We sat down with both candidates to learn more about their stances on several important issues, including rising property taxes.
The way we've approached it with a homestead exemption, Montana residents in their primary home will pay a lower rate. Renters will get a pass-through from the landlord, and will help will stabilize farms and ranches. Unfortunately, the approach that my opponent is putting forward would actually give a break to out-of-staters.
One of the first things we're going to do is call for the property taxes to be rolled back. It requires the governor to lead, and then it requires him to bring in legislators who want to fix this because they have to pass his proposed budget. So we're going to make sure that we roll back these property taxes to the rates that don't involve this egregious jacking up of everybody's taxes. That's the first thing we're going to do.
Join us for America Votes, Montana's race for governor. It's going to be tonight from 6 to 7. Then again tomorrow night at the same time. We'll bring you America Votes, the race for the U.S. Senate, as we introduce you to Senator Jon Tester and his Republican opponent, Tim Sheehy. The fall weather continues to amaze us. Here's a look at the colorful base of the Beartooth Mountains in Red Lodge. Some areas saw a bit of rain this morning, but more changes are surely on the way. We're going to turn it over to Ed McIntosh now with a look at the forecast.
They've already nipped your garden, but as far as the airport goes in Billings and in Miles City, we have not seen temperatures drop down to 32 degrees or colder so far this year, and that's pretty late in the season. In fact, we could be close to record-setting situations if we don't get a freeze pretty soon. For Billings, that's October 28th and the 29th for Miles City. But there are a couple of opportunities for those colder temperatures to move in, perhaps even as early as tonight. We're really going to be watching you in Miles City. So you take a look at the state, the red shaded areas show you where we expect warmer than average temperatures by tomorrow during the day, but we're going to go through periods of colder and then warmer temperatures for the weekend. A lot of weather to talk about in a few minutes.
In Washington state, a teenage boy has been taken into custody after a domestic violence incident resulting in the deaths of 5 people inside a Falls City, Washington home. The King County Sheriff's Office says deputies arrived at the home and found multiple victims dead inside, including 2 adults and 3 teenagers. Other victims called police from the inside of a bathroom in the home where they were hiding during the shooting. In western Montana, the trial for a man is ongoing. He's been charged with killing his wife and a bartender in Superior. Craig Walter Benson is facing 2 charges of deliberate homicide. He pled guilty to killing his wife, Jenny Benson, and a bartender, Logan Gardner, at the Four Aces bar in August of 2023. While the crime happened actually in Superior, the trial is underway currently in Ravalli County in order to keep the jury unbiased. A Missoula judge is presiding over that case. If you ever wondered where the meat that you eat comes from, odds are it was processed in one of 4 facilities. Just 4 companies process more than 80% of all beef in this country, and many ranchers complain that's led to unfair competition. But help could be on the way. MTN's David J. has more.
The United States Department of Agriculture started the rulemaking process this summer for a law that was passed by Congress more than 100 years ago. And then within the last week, the agency released a report addressing competition in the beef industry. A new report from the USDA states 4 beef packers harvesting 81% of the nation's beef in 2021. A troubling statistic that many ranchers say impacts their bottom line.
The very same conditions that existed back then exist today. We have a disparity in market power.
When Congress passed the 1921 Packers and Stockyards Act, the USDA says 5 packers processed 82% of the nation's beef, even though that legislation was aimed at addressing the market concentration.
They wanted to eliminate the abusive practices that were directed at independent producers within the industry.
And now today, little has changed. This summer, the USDA proposed a new rule that has not yet been implemented. It essentially provides clearer tests and framework to allow the USDA to better enforce the act and ensure competitive markets while also aiding ranchers.
We're very pleased with what Secretary Vilsack and USDA has come out as rules, and we're looking forward to enforcement.
The American Meat Institute opposes the proposed rule change, arguing it attempts to circumvent Congress and the courts. The Institute's 85-member board includes representatives from the 4 biggest meat packers, JBS Foods, Cargill, National Beef, and Tyson Foods. The Institute's COO and General Counsel states changing the harm to competition standard requires congressional action. The proposal includes standards so vague that if adopted, it would be impossible for a regulated entity to know how to comply. But ranchers like G.L. Stockton disagree.
What's been happening in the cattle markets is not kosher, not legal.
And he supports the battle that RCAF USA and the Northern Plains Resource Council, among others, are waging to try and make the market more competitive.
The rules are necessary to balance the disparate market power between independent producers and multinational meat packers.
In Billings, David J., MTN News.
Wide online access and social media means information can spread quickly. As our Marion Davidson finds out, something else, though, is also spreading quickly. That's threats against schools.
Helena, Belgrade, Missoula, Hardin, Browning, Billings. Since the beginning of September, schools in each of those places have gotten threats. It feels like we're seeing more and more threats against schools these days than in the past, but is that true?
I would say here, within the last month or two of school getting back in session, we've seen a huge uptick, probably larger than we've seen in a while.
Anderson is part of the Montana Analysis and Technical Information Center, or MATIC. He said it's typical to see threats made in the beginning and toward the end of the school year, but what is changing is how threats are delivered. They are no longer called in or scratched into the paint on the bathroom stall.
We see a lot more of the online, social media, whether it's via Snapchat, TikTok, various social media platforms.
This means threats can come in from anywhere.
Everyone's serious, absolutely.
In Helena Public Schools, when a threat comes in, it immediately triggers a reaction.
First of all, primary responsibility, student staff safety.
That could be locking down one or multiple schools or keeping kids and teachers in their classrooms. At the same time, the district works with the Helena Police Department and MATIC to determine whether the threat is credible. MATIC has access to a national database, so they can see if the threat is one that is popping up at districts across the country and not credible, or if it's local and a valid threat.
That kind of kicks off the investigation side on the criminal side if it's local.
Welts said impacted schools are kept secure until the threat is deemed credible or not, and the situation is resolved. All threats, valid or not, take a toll on both students and staff.
I watch my staff and my students walk down the hallway in the middle of a shelter in place or a lockdown. The burden is heavy, absolutely.
Reporting threats is critical to keep schools safe. You can report threats to law enforcement or school officials. Helena Public Schools uses the Montana Cares app. It's a way to anonymously report concerns about school safety and mental health. In Helena, Marion Davidson, MTN News.
Still to come on the MTN News at 4:30. How do you get students interested in sports at a young age? You let them experience it. We're going to take you to MSUB for a basketball game where their special guests are still in elementary school. And Ed is back in with a look at that full 7-day forecast. We'll see you right here after the break.